What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and as you can see, we're back in the garage with the 2020 Honda Grom. In today's video, I figured we could go ahead and go over all of the modifications that have been done to the bike so far. So what I think I'd like to go ahead and start with is, we'll just start with the cosmetic mods so far. So let's go ahead and swing up towards the front of the bike here. And as you can see, we have a Pro Taper handlebar. This is the Honda Mini Pro Taper handlebar. This was already on the bike when I got it, but I did go ahead and swap out the pillow top grips for these grips right here. Personally, I didn't like the pillow top grips. They felt a little bit slippy in my hands. I'm not sure if it was because they were starting to wear out or what, but I also didn't like that I could feel all of the little knobbies in my palm, and it just made riding the bike just feel kind of awkward. Now, along with that, we have the mirror delete. As you can see here, I got two plugs taking up where the stock mirrors used to be, and on the left-hand side only, we have a CRG lane splitter mirror. This thing works really great. It gives me a really good behind and side view of the bike. I can actually see like behind me and to the right as well if you just tilt your head just slightly. I love this mirror. It's a great addition. Up here also, we have these Amazon levers. These are just some cheap, like I think they were like maybe 26 bucks or 25 bucks. I did have to tighten a few of the nuts on them to get them to be a little less wiggly as possible. They used to wiggle a lot, but now they're actually pretty sturdy. They don't move too terribly much. They still have some free play, but that's okay. They are adjustable, which is a huge improvement over stock. So up next, we do have the TST Industries Hyper Pack kit. Now this comes with their fender eliminator kit here that actually changes out the entire stock assembly for the rear end. So no longer do you have that kind of hexagonal brake light. You get their own brake light here. It's a little bit of an oval shape. You have a choice of clear or smoke. It comes with their LED license plate and mounting bracket here. Also, along with that pack, we do have the front TST LED turn signals as well. And I'll go ahead and turn the lights on the bike so you can see what these look like. So they are a daytime running light. They are on all the time when the bike is running. And then we have our flash right here. So this kit does include the Hyper Flash relay. That's why it kind of blinks fast for a split second, and then it slows down because the relay is able to catch that action. Let me show you what the rear looks like now. So as you can see, here's our tail light. It is nice and bright. Do not be worried about getting hit on the road with this thing. It's very bright, very noticeable. And then you got the LED license plate light down there. Let me go ahead and turn the signals on so you can see what this one looks like. So it is an integrated turn signal here. Hopefully the camera's picking up this nice and well. All right, so up next for aesthetics, we have the NOI seat. I picked this up for $99 off of Steady Garage. Now when I got it, I was hoping it would be much more comfortable than the stock seat that you can see over there. But let me go ahead and show you the main differences between these two seats. So here's a look at the stock seat. And as you can see, it has this like profile here where it swoops up and then to the passenger seat, and it really keeps you like from being able to move around on the seat too much. So depending on your height, you may want to adjust yourself, you know, a little more towards the back of the bike. But unfortunately, that seat prevents you from doing that, or at least having a little more wiggle room as possible. So as you can see, this NOI seat here has a much more flat profile. It does not restrict you from moving back on the seat and having that annoying hump right there. Because for me personally, I like to sit right about there, and that's where that hump is. So like I was saying, this seat was like $99 off of Steady Garage, and I was hoping it was going to be more comfortable, and it was more comfortable in the fact that I could sit where I wanted. It is hard as a rock. So I actually took this to an upholstery shop local to me, and for $45, he shaved down the stock foam that was in here and added some nice padding. And now it's nice and cushy and soft. And now I can ride it for more than an hour without my butt starting to hurt and go numb. It is a fantastic seat now. So for, you know, $145, you really couldn't beat the value that I got out of this. All right, so up next, we'll go over kind of the performance features of the bike. And this first one here is not really a performance feature, but if you watched my last video, you were able to see the install on this. So this is the TB Parts direct shifter, and then behind there is the Chimera shift support bracket. This has been a great addition. A lot of people complain that it's harder to find neutral with this, but actually I find it easier to find neutral, especially if you're doing it from a second downward click. So if you're going towards first gear, it's much easier to actually find neutral that way than it is pulling up from first. This has made shifting so much better. The stock shifter has so much slop and free play in it that it is ridiculous, and I don't understand why Honda went that way. I think they should have just done a style like this from the factory and reinforced that maybe themselves, or leave that as an aftermarket option. I do understand a little bit of, why they did it, but this makes shifting so much crisper and so much quicker. It makes the bike feel brand new. All right, and while we're down here, behind here is the front sprocket. I have a stock 15 tooth front sprocket on here, but it is a JT sprocket. On the rear, we have a 35 tooth JT sprocket as well. And then this is a JT non-O-ring chain. I swapped these out a few hundred miles ago. Actually, it's been more than a few hundred, maybe about 800 miles ago or more. Pretty much as soon as I picked up the bike, the stock stuff was shot. So I swapped this stuff out. Now it is a +1 tooth in the rear, which gives you, slightly better acceleration. I really didn't notice a difference. I didn't ride the bike on stock gearing too much anyways, because I swapped these things out right away. It does make my speedometer read about 2.5 miles per hour more optimistic than what the bike is actually going. So if the bike is indicating 60 miles per hour, I'm actually doing closer to 58, maybe 57.5. So there is that little bit of downfall there. I could get a speedo healer and fix that, but I'm not worried about it right now. It's only like 2 miles per hour off. Back here, as you can see, what's holding the bike up right now, don't mind those dirty stands. I picked this up used, and I just need to clean it up. We have these little spool adapters and adjuster plates from Amazon. These were on the bike when I got it as well. They are garbage, and I plan on swapping those out for the TST Industry ones when I have a chance. All right, so back towards the front of the bike here, this is a mod that you can't really see, but I did put 20 weight fork oil into the forks here recently, and I did a little YouTube short on how the forks behave now. Now, if you're a Honda Grom owner, you already know that these things tend to pogo stick like crazy. So you push down on them and they're a joke. I mean, they just sit there and bounce and then finally settle out. 20 weight oil settles these things down tremendously. It is a must-do mod. I highly recommend it. I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys just a little demo of how the shocks look and how they react right now. So this is with me giving the bike a pretty good amount of force, and I'm not stopping it myself or anything. I'm just giving it one good shove as hard as I can down. And as you can see, the shocks are not bottoming out. And on top of that, they come up and they settle. They don't sit there and bounce around anymore like a waterbed. All right, so next on the list, we have an iStunt exhaust. You can get these on Amazon. I picked mine up off of eBay, only because I was able to make an offer, and I was able to offer a little bit lower than the price on eBay. So I got this for 120 bucks. So this actually started off as an all black exhaust. It's like a black chrome. And as you can see, it might be kind of hard to tell, but it's actually turned like this rainbowy color on the header here, which I don't mind. It still looks pretty good. And then it comes out back to a black chrome muffler. So that's kind of like what the whole system used to look like right there. I chose this one just because, I don't know, I liked the blacked out look a little bit better than like the regular, steel with the, I think it's like a carbon fiber style canister back there. I am running it with the baffle out because of all my performance mods. It's recommended that you run any of these exhausts with the baffle out. Now, when I picked up the bike, it had a Competition Works exhaust, and that exhaust, in my opinion, not that it was too loud. I mean, it was fairly loud. I would say this exhaust is slightly quieter with the baffle out, but the Competition Works, it just had a tone that I didn't like. It was kind of raspy, kind of tinny. Just did not like the tone of that exhaust. So that's why I decided to sell that one and pick this one up. And this one can be had for tons cheaper than a Competition Works, obviously. Competition Works exhaust brand new are like 500 bucks. I sold mine used, I think, for like 200, and then I picked this one up. This one was 120 off of eBay, like I said, and it's been great. The bike performs pretty much the same as it did with the Competition Works exhaust, so I don't think there's a whole lot of, performance benefit to having the high-end branded exhaust. I've heard a lot of good things about the Hendel exhaust, but I've had really good luck with this Amazon one so far. It's got, few hundred miles on it, and it's performing great. And I really like that this one comes with that little carbon fiber band for the muffler there. But yeah, I like the exhaust. I like the tone. It's got a great sound. If you're interested in it, I can throw a link to the Amazon one in the description below. and you guys can pick one up for yourself. Now up next, and this one's going to be kind of hard to see because I don't want to take the fairings off, but as you can see right here, we have the filter to our man-in-the-box M-take system. And then this rod right here is that fairing support rod that comes with the intake as an option. And I highly recommend you get it because it keeps your fairings from flapping around because normally they would screw into the side of the airbox and it would help keep them in place. But as you can see, there is the filter to the M-take right there, and you can see hints of the red body of it. Another thing I like about this intake is it does not have any holes in it for any of the hoses, and it does not have a hole in it for the air temperature sensor. It actually has a bracket on it that hooks into the frame of the motorcycle, and the frame is what holds the air filter up there in place. So it's got two connection points, one down here at the throttle body and then one up against the frame where the filter is. And on that bracket, it actually has holes for you to put the intake air temperature sensor on there. And it holds the air intake temperature sensor outside of the piping, but right next to where the bike is drawing in air from. So it still gets an accurate reading. It just keeps all of the airflow inside of the intake smooth. There are no disturbances. So I think that's a really cool thing about this air intake, and it's been performing great on the bike. Now, one thing that goes along with this air intake, like I said, it has no, holes for any of the hoses that come off a stock airbox. Now, one of those hoses comes off of your crankcase right here. And so this is the crankcase breather hose. Now, normally this would route up this direction over to that side and plug into the stock airbox, and it would be able to let any of the pressure and the oil mist or any of that kind of stuff that's from inside the crankcase, when it needs to relieve some pressure, it will go into the airbox to be reburned through the system. It's kind of an emissions tool, that kind of thing. Now, that actually lowers the effective octane rating of your gasoline. So having this routed outside of the airbox actually makes your bike run better as well. But since there is no partition for this to plug into the intake, what I've done is routed the hose to the back of the bike, and then I bought one of these cheap little crankcase breather filters that it fits nicely inside of right here. I bought this from AutoZone. It's made by the company Spectre, and then I just kind of zip tied it right here for now until I figure out something better. But I mean, honestly, this does a perfect job at it, so I may just leave it as is. So that way it is not able to draw in any dirty air, and it's not just spitting oil anywhere as well. But yeah, that was my solution to this. So if you're looking for a solution to this, when you buy the M-take, this is an option. Now, they do sell their own version of one of these little filters. It's a separate option that you have to find on their website. I didn't know about it at first, so I bought my intake, and then I was like, oh shit, what am I gonna do with this hose? And this was my same day fix. I just went out and bought this filter from AutoZone because I knew they carried them, and this is how I fixed it. And it was only like 12 bucks for the filter. Up next for performance, while we're here, I do have a One Step Colder spark plug. So, I mean, don't go blasting me in the comment section. I think it's CRP EA7 or CRP7EA. That's the One Step Colder. The stock spark plug has the number 6. So I did this just as a precautionary measure, just to make sure that the bike was running a plug that could handle the extra heat that the motor might be putting out. And, hopefully it has a stronger spark now. Now, up next for performance, and you can't see it because normally it sits like right up in behind here, that is our ECU. I am currently running the CJR SMR stage 1 tune that I bought off of Man in the Box when I got my intake. And this tune, basically, it has auto tune. It's made by Cameron Jones Racing, and what that does is the auto tune in there allows you to run a stock cylinder bore, and you can run any intake, any exhaust, up to 110cc injector, which we'll go over that here in a minute. I think you can do throttle bodies as well. The only thing I think you can't do while leaving it stock bore is any kind of upgraded cylinder head. You can run any cam as well, which we'll also go over here in a second. But basically it allows you to tune and go. Like, you don't have to get an exhaust, get an intake, which a lot of people do, and then tune it. You know, they send their stuff out to CJR or to DHM and they get it flashed. Then they go and buy a cam and I have to send it back out and get it flashed again. This ECU allows you to add these mods one at a time or all at one time and just get it out of the way all in one tune. It will adapt to each mod as you go. And I found that pretty unique about it, so I went ahead and picked it up. It is a little bit more expensive than just having your stock ECU flash, but I think it's well worth it because you're saving the cost of having to send it back out and have the downtime of sending it out and getting it back in. Now, along with that, inside of here, which you can't see as well, I do have the TB series, so the same company that makes this shifter. I have their cam. It is the same profile as the DCR cam is what I have read. It really wakes the bike up above 6,000 RPM. It's almost like this little Honda Grom hits VTEC. Once you get to 6,000 RPM and above, it just opens up and just starts to pull much better than it did stock. I mean, it's nothing crazy. It's nothing out of the ordinary. It's still a Grom, but it does wake the bike up substantially above 6,000 RPM, and it's able to pull on flat ground all the way to redline through every single gear. Highly recommended cam if you're going to be tuning these motors. Up next, which you can't really see, it's right here. I am running a PCX 150 injector, so from a Honda PCX 150. Now, with this injector, I have read some things online that they don't work with the SF Grom, you know, the Street Fighter Grom like I have here. But after doing a lot of research, I found that there's two different part numbers. One of them ends in 701 and the other one ends in J01. And I read that a lot of people were having issues with the injector that ends in J01. So what I did was I bought the 701 and lo and behold, it's working actually really, really well inside this bike. Now, the only reason I picked that up because Cameron told me through email, the guy that, you know, does the ECU tuning, he told me that this bike, the SF injector, will handle all of these modifications just fine. But in my case, especially like up a hill or anything like that, when the bike couldn't just kind of scoot past, you know, 9,000 RPMs, say like I was going up a hill and it was getting to 9,000 RPMs and it kind of had to creep through, I would get a little bit of breaking up and some like little like hiccups, just like, you know, and then it would get past it and kind of go through. And I couldn't really figure out why that was. But in my mind, I was like, I feel like I'm running out of fuel. So I picked up the PCX 150 injector. Now this is actually a 140cc rated injector. I know the ECU tuning says that you can use the stock to 110cc rated, but it's actually working with this PCX 150 injector really well. If you plan on getting one, just make sure you buy the one that ends in part number 701. Do not get the one that ends in J01. I can't vouch for the J01, but this one works really well. And you'll know the difference because the J01 actually has like a clearish white colored top on it, and the 701 is all black. All right, guys, so that's going to do it for today's video with the mod overview of the 2020 Honda Grom. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. I don't think I missed anything. I could be wrong. I did a lot of things to this bike like right off the bat after I got it. They're so cheap to mod. They're so fun to mod. It's actually a really fun bike to ride. Now, it's not fun because you can't really go on freeways and stuff. I have gotten this bike up to a GPS verified 76 miles per hour, and that was slightly downhill and able to draft off of a car on the freeway. And it still had a little bit of more RPMs it could keep going. I think I could have probably hit 80 miles per hour before it hit the soft rev limiter. But it's been a really fun bike. It's a blast in the canyons. If you have somewhere tight and twisty to ride this bike, absolute blast. Highly recommend it. I'm planning on hitting the canyons a few more times till I move back east. And then once I get east, hopefully me and my buddy Lewis out there are going to be riding these things on the track and then also on the street. Plan to have a lot of fun with these bikes. He has a 2022 that he's modifying, and I have a 2020. So he's got the newest generation, and I have this one. You know, maybe we'll be able to make some videos where we can compare them, ride them back to back, and maybe see how each one feels and how they differ. But that's going to be it for today's video, guys. If you enjoyed the content, please hit that subscribe button, leave a like on the video, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.